over at Mr. Top Stepper running this. On your calendar, on the bottom of your platform, we have those white lines. I'm sorry, not those. My mistake. Um, I think it's the up arrow. All right, up at the top menu, and you can see under the menu tab, there's some room events. All right, so click on that for the room events, and you'll see what the schedule is for this week. We got a pretty good lineup throughout the week. So looking forward to that. We have a pretty good group in here already. And so again, I want to welcome everyone, guests, members, everybody back here on Tuesday after a long weekend. All right, terrific. All right, again, a lot to do this week, a lot going on. For those visiting here in the PTG room, there is a number of key links that we post on a daily basis. All right, the daily trade strategy, which is our kind of our start of the day, kind of an outline for the day, and there's a password there, and that password changes from time to time, but that's the current password. If you want to follow us on Twitter, do follow us on Twitter. There's a lot of good stuff that we post there from our trading room. Okay, kind of give you a lay of the land here. The charts that you're seeing on the screen, now there's a lot of information here on the charts. Okay, and the way we have them set up is S&P, NQ, and then the crude oil on the far right. And they're set up like a deck of cards. All right, so there's a number of different charts that we will reference throughout the day. What I highly recommend all the new folks is in the key links, there's a link called the PTG Trader Orientation, Toolbox Orientation video. I think it's about maybe 10 or 15 minutes long, perhaps. Take a few minutes on that. Watch that. That will give you an overview of at least understanding what the layout is for us. All right, so you're not kind of confused. All right, hopefully you won't be. All right, and there's some other links in there, just the trading room protocol, which simply outlines, how the room is conducted, what my responsibilities are, what your responsibilities are, etc. All right. Folks that are having trouble with the charts in the PTG room, first try an F5, all right, to refresh the screen, and then use the right arrow to select where the charts are. So PTG charts. If you're having more difficulty beyond that, you may need to contact Marlon. Okay. All right. Let me refresh actually from my end. Give me 1 second. All right. Sometimes it's let me refresh from my end. PTG charts. Okay. F5, if you need to refresh the screens, F5, Foxtrot 5, and then the right arrow, and then select the charts for those that are having difficulty. All right, charts should be back. All right, terrific. So again, the beginning point of what we do every day, all right, is our daily trade strategy that we write. And again, there's a link in the section up above. And what I simply do, here's a copy of it. What I simply do is just outline the overnight markets, your current economic calendar. It's kind of a one-stop place for a lot of information, kind of a clearinghouse. And then I make a note on the S&P. All right, we do follow what's called the 3-day cycle to tailor
the average selling price of
cycle, and that forms kind of the outline of our daily trade strategy. It's just a general outline. All right, what day cycle we're on. Then I write up 2 scenarios, obviously bullish and bearish scenarios. Scenario 1 will be bullish, 2 will be bearish. Some key numbers, some ATR range projections, etc. You can read those through. All right. And again, I usually select some chart of interest each day, and I post it. They're typically either a 60-minute chart or a profile chart. All right, just to kind of get an overview, kind of a 30,000-foot view, of the market, kind of key levels, how the profile's unfolding, things like that. All right, and then that's on the S&P, and then I also quote the NQ. I do not do crude oil right now. It does take me a fair amount of time to do this each morning, and I aside from, I don't want to. Everything we do here on the NQ and the ES is applicable to crude oil equally. All right, and what I highly would recommend those that are, trading other instruments like gold and crude oil and euro or Aussie dollar or things like that. Okay, um, is you could take the format of what we do here and then kind of kind of do your own analysis, for those contracts. So kind of use that as an outline. Crude oil is on the same cycle day. I'm not so much sure of gold. It could be as well. All right, so crude oil is on a cycle day 1 as well right now. All right, if you want to learn more about the 3-day cycle, all right, if we go up to the trading tab here and down below here, all right, on the website, it's PTG 3-day cycle, and there's a free document. There's a couple workshop videos in there that'll outline a little bit more about the 3-day Taylor 3-day cycle if you're interested in learning more about that. All right, and again, there's a lot of free information about this on the website. All right, so again, PolarisTradingGroup.com, and there you go. All right, cool. All right, let's see. All right, again, just a lot of information to cover this morning. All right, so what I've done here is on the S&P. Now the S&P is here on the kind of the left 3 charts. All right, and I've combined a number of different profiles. Now many of you are very very learned in profiles, so I'm not going to go into kind of deep education and deep explanation of profiles and so forth. There's a lot of information out there. If you're unfamiliar with profiles, what they mean, how to read them, interpretations, etc. Plenty of educational, free educational information out there. So I do encourage you to look at that. But what I've done here is I've just combined some of last week's activity into a single profile, and then I have the overnight profile located here on the right. All right, so some of the key areas that I like to look at, all right, in terms of kind of framing out, the action is, high and low value areas, right, should be pretty standard fare for profile readers. Obviously, point of control, high volume nodes, low volume nodes, all right, those are kind of the key items that you want to at least, initially look at. So, and again, just kind of forms a framework. I don't use it as predictions, but rather just understanding where the past profiles, where the past activity has been, and then we can make some potential inferences about where the market may go, on any given day, or what the potential is, what were inflection points, in prior sessions. Okay, things like that is important for me to understand. That also, again, because every day we want to stay in alignment with the primary direction, whatever that may be on that day, and then we also want to know, once we're in alignment, what's the potential, what's the further potential, all right? At what point could there be a reversal point, occurring, right, if the market responds in that way. So we need to at least have an understanding of where these key levels reside, okay? And it's not just profile. A lot of people use like Murray math. A lot of people, not many people actually use the 3-day cycle, interestingly enough, at least in the retail community. I do know of a number of folks in the kind of the professional realm that have used and do use the 3-day cycle every day. Now there's different types of cycles. All right, there's like the 4.5 day cycle. There's a number of different cycles out there, and whichever one you may be using, if you're using one, and it works, then keep it. All right. If you're interested in learning more about the 3-day Taylor cycle, then you've come to the right spot on that. All right, we have a free document on that. All right. Okay, so I mean, you can see the high volume areas. I've just laid them out for you. If you want to take a snapshot of this, all right, go right ahead. We're going to move on to the next set of charts. All right, so if you want to take a quick snapshot, if anybody wants to do that, go right ahead. All right, I'll just wait a few minutes or a minute or so. Okay, so let's move on to the next level of charts. We take a look at the 60-minute chart. Okay, and again, like I said, this is set up like a deck of cards, and so everything I do on one, I can do equally on the next. Now, again, there's a lot of information on here. All right, just to quickly outline. All right, let me just hide the 3-day cycle lines for a second. Just to outline here, you'll see primarily the profiles. You'll see these white lines here. This is these are the 10-day average true range levels. Okay, so again, similar to like the idea of a football field, when you're overflying it in the blimp. You want to see, where is the ball, i.e. price, where's that on the field? How close is it to the goal lines? The goal lines would be 100% of the 10-day average true range. And so where is the ball price on the field? Who has control, and how much how much further do they need to move it to get to the edge of the range? All right, so it's important to understand things like that. I don't particularly look at R1 and R2 and S1, the floor trader pivots. I do look at value areas, points of control. All right. I mean, the R1s, R2s, I mean, I have them in here, but again, how I use a lot of these levels is simply, I want to know what the range potential is every day, number one. Okay, number two, right, everything's a reference, but I want to know, first and foremost, I want to know what the 10-day range is, what's the range potential for the day, okay, based upon the 10-day sequential range. All right, and then I look at other things like central pivot zones. The magenta area that you see there, that's referred to as the 3-day central pivot zone. Okay, so it's a rolling 3-day central pivots. All right, so the central pivot zone is comprised of the central pivot or the pivot point, right? High, low, close, divide by 3, and the midpoint of a session, which is the 50% point of the session. Okay, so those two figures make up what I refer to as the central pivot zone. And then we take a 3-day rolling average of it. All right, so it's a constant average. So we have the daily one and a rolling 3 days. The rolling 3 days I find obviously much more important, and there are many times where the markets will reverse close to those areas. All right, so that's what I want to know in the beginning. What is the range? What are some of the key structure levels? All right, so I refer to the central pivot zone as a price structure level zone. All right, and then when you kind of combine those things with profiles, right? So many of you, like I said, are very familiar. So you'll see, like here at the 6263s, there's a low volume node, right, on the 5 days. So what's attached to the chart here on the price chart is a 5-day profile. All right, and then we have the current day profile, the smaller one in between. Okay, so that's how the chart's laid out. Okay, the ATRs are a 10-day sequential. Okay, 10-day sequential, and you can find that, by the way. That's why I wanted to start a little early, because I figured we'd have some questions. On the website, you can actually see on the trading tab here. Okay, if you go down on the trading tab, you'll see the daily range calculator. All right, click on that. All right, so the website, PolarisTradingGroup.com, trading tab, menu tab, submenu, daily range calculator. If you click on that, okay, it actually, I have a spreadsheet, Google spreadsheet that calculates every 5 minutes. It updates the 10-day average true range with targets. All right, 100%, 75%, etc. So again, the website, trading tab, and then daily range calculator. All right, so this is free access for everyone. All right. All right, and what we do there is we take information from this spreadsheet, we put it onto the charts, and that's simply what you're looking at on the charts with additional information beyond the spreadsheet. Right, but this is a good place to start. If you're not sure what the 10-day average true range is, all right, you're missing out on an important piece to start the day. All right, it's like getting in your car and not knowing how much gas you have on the car. Well, how far can you go? You may not get out of your driveway down at the end of your street before it conks out, right? If you don't have enough gas, so you're going to be obviously cognizant of that. And when you have a full tank of gas, do you know how far your car can actually go? 200 miles, 300 miles, etc. So again, having an understanding of what the potential is for the day, not predicting that it's going to get there, but you need to have some reference point. So that's one way that we kind of look at that. Yeah, a lot of people like that analogy, Phil. All right, I think it's a good one. All right. All right. Yeah, we use all the traditional stuff. We have VWAPs, absolutely. Yeah, all that stuff is all part and parcel of everything that we do. All right. All right. What else do we can get from this chart? So basically, we're just trying to identify some key zones. All right, to start the day, and since we have a cycle day one now on the cycle, again, we're getting close to the cash opening here, so we want to do something with the cash opening. But again, there's more information on the 3-day cycle, but suffice it to say that on a cycle day one, which is today, that's the first day of the cycle, we're looking for, or we would be anticipating some type of a decline, all right, to look to establish a new secure low. That's the core of what cycle day one is all about. All right, so not surprising that we have some weakness coming in to start the day. How much weakness we'll get simply is based upon how the markets what the big boys want to do. All right, you can see here there's an inflection point, there's a cluster over here on the prices, right? There's a cluster of overlapping 60-minute time periods. That's typically going to be important. You can also see a pretty large cluster of volume here. Again, large volume clusters, I interpret it as it's like a magnet. All right, there's a lot of business that took place there in prior sessions. It's not just going to fall apart, right? Once it gets there, typically won't anyways, unless there's something external that's changing sentiment. Right. So, the idea here is you're more likely going to get some level of a buy response, all right, kind of this drip, drip, drip down into the cash opening. And then I would assume we have some sort of a buy response, coming in here. Again, I don't know how strong it will be. Who does? We want to anticipate it, and then we look to measure it and see how the market then is reacting, in real time to that area. Same thing for the NQ. All right, it's into the 3-day central pivot zone right around the 40s. All right, again, we'll see how the market responds. All right, so it's kind of drip, drip, drip overnight. All right, down into these kind of key zones and see what the market does from that. All right, that's how we. Yeah, they could correct the overnight action. They could balance it. Again, what we try to do here, guys, is just outline have some understanding of what the key levels. Then just absorb what's happening in real time. I don't try to add any personal biases. All right. I want to just see what the market does, and we'll react to it. We look for specific setups, all right, which we'll talk about, throughout the week. All right. And the first one will be our opening range, okay, on the NQ. And we're going to take a look at that here. We got obviously a gap opening here. All right. So here's our current price right here, or current price line, 37. So we got a pretty good gap opening here. We'll see how the market handles that. Thursday is our slot, okay, for our workshop for the open house. And we will be discussing the open range strategy, okay? So you'll have lots of information on Thursday about the open range. All right. All right, let's stay focused. Again, I'll comment when necessary. Again, I am trading as well. If you do have questions, limit them if you can. Write them down. Limit them if you can to maybe a quiet point in the day, nearer to noontime. But I do want to get to everybody's questions. It will be a busy week for us this week, so. All right, with many of you in here, and I'm sure many of you will have plenty of questions, so we'll look to take care of those when possible. All right. So let's give it a go. So obviously the lean, all right, is to the downside right now. And again, as we were entering some of this key area, you can see on the 5-minute chart on the S&P here, this green zone that I'm typing. This was, I guess that's Friday, right? Yeah, I guess that's Friday's opening zone. Okay, so that's important there. Take a look where the NQ was. The NQ, where's the opening zone? The opening zone for the NQ is down here. And then we have an overlapping opening zone from Thursday over here. Okay, so those zones represent prior openings. All right. We'll get our range in a second. Put the bar difference on here. We give a 12-point opening range right now for the NQ. All right, NQ we use a 3-minute opening range. S&P we use a 5-minute. All right, 13.25 opening range right now, and we got less than a minute to go. So the question will become, do they reverse it and try to move it back up, or is this a gap and go to the downside? Okay. All right. We are all, well, primarily we're intraday traders. If we do use any swing, we do stuff with options, but we're primarily intraday. All right, the opening triggered first to the upside, all right, through the opening high. That triggered first. First target up here is going to be 56. I did not trigger in, all right, because it just happened right on the opening of the next bar. First target is 56. Second target is about 61s. And again, we'll go over all the details of how we handle the opening range, all right, how we look for it, how our interpretation is, and how we trade it. All right, you'll get entry techniques, you'll get management techniques, you'll get position sizing suggestions. Okay, so you'll get a lot come Thursday about the opening. All right, looks like the first target was hit. Yeah. All right, so the first target here was hit. This was the opening. Now, again, I don't have a trade on here. I'm just marking the levels for everybody. When I do a trade, you will see it live. Okay, no Memorex here. And then second target is about 61 quarters. Pretty good buying stepped in here. Once this target 2 gets fulfilled, okay, we have what's called a reversal play. All right, that reversal play will be invalidated, and the opening range will have deemed to be complete. Okay, at that point. Actually, so what I'll do is I'll mark this for you guys. All right, I got a little reward risk tool here. All right, we'll mark this for first target. All right, and we'll see if we get to the second target as well. These are just markers. These are not trades. Okay. Everybody, you know, typically will ask, is that a trade? That is not a trade. That is just a marker, all right, of how we do this. You will see my trades on the screen when I do them. All right, target 2 is fulfilled also. Okay. All right, so those are your 2 targets. All right, so at this point, the opening range is complete. Okay, and again, we'll give you all the details of how to trade this. There's a couple different ways that we can trade it. All right, and again, we'll give you all those details on Thursday. So you will actually learn a very important piece of the opening. If you've ever, there's a number of different places that trade the opening, and there's a lot of information out there. This is how we do it, and we have backup statistics, all right, that we'll share with everybody as well of the results, okay, of what we've experienced with our opening sequences. Okay, so again, you'll learn quite a bit this week, all right, and useful information, not just you know, nice to know, but important to know that you can use. How many of you out there, while we're scanning here, do actually use the opening or trade some sort of an opening range, you know, for our guests? Anybody out there have some sort of an opening range strategy that they use? Okay, some of you do. Yeah, it'll all be recorded, and it'll be available to everybody. Absolutely. Okay, first 5 minutes, sometimes 15 minutes. Yeah, there's a couple different time frames that can be used for the opening range, and we'll discuss those as well. Okay. All right, we're going to move over to our normal chart here on the NQ, all right, which is the